All right, let's move things along here on the Elias Mako Show. 2020, was it the most hateful year on record in Canada? Rate of hate crimes was alarmingly high. What are the roots of this hate and what can we do about it? Our next guest is here to tell us more about what we can do to combat hate in our own backyards. Fareed Khan is on the line, founder of Canadians United Against Hate. Fareed, welcome to the show.
Good morning.
So new data from Statistics Canada suggests that the number of reported hate crimes, it set a new record in 2020, and this at a time when other types of crimes decreased. What's your take?
Well, sadly, it's not surprising. Hate crimes have been on the rise for years. We've had incidents of violent hate. We've had incidents of deadly hate. The 2017 mosque shooting in Quebec City. Of course, last year, 2021, we had the murder of a Muslim family in London, Ontario. There have been multiple reports across the country over the last 2 years of incidents of violent hate targeting Asians, blacks, Indigenous people, and it's a very disturbing trend. And I would like to mention that while the Statistics Canada report mentioned police-reported hate crimes, the vast majority of victims who are subjected to hate crimes generally don't report those incidents to police for various reasons.
And mentioning hate crimes targeting East or Southeast Asian people, that went up 301%, targeting black people up 92%, those targeting Indigenous people 152%. So I just want to pay particular attention to some of those increases there, and anti-Asian hate in particular up 301%. Obviously we're going through a pandemic. I know that played a part of this, but what is your take on what you're seeing with regards to certain groups? Because there seems to be a difference here.
Well, yes, if you recall, when the pandemic started, there was a lot of focus on the fact that this virus came or originated in China, and there are certain segments of the population who don't make the or don't identify the difference. The fact that when something like that originates in a certain part of the world, it has nothing to do with people who may have origins in that part of the world. So what we saw was a rise in hate crimes targeting Chinese and East Asian people because some people felt that they were to blame for this pandemic, which is absolutely ludicrous. There were reports across the country of people who were Chinese or looked Chinese being physically assaulted, and it speaks to a very, very disturbing aspect of a certain segment of the Canadian population who like to think this way. And of course, then, there are the white supremacist groups who take advantage of such situations to then boost their own agenda of targeting not just, in this case, Chinese people, but anybody who might look different and not white.
What can you say as we look across the country and looking at regional disparities, differences, the rise that we saw, Nova Scotia up 70%, British Columbia 60%, Saskatchewan 60%. Those are the places where it rose the most here. Is there anything you can say about, because I know statistics makes everything tricky, so maybe we get beyond the statistics here, but is there anything you can say about how things are different across the country?
Well, I'm a bit confused about the rise in Nova Scotia because Nova Scotia is not generally seen as a hotbed of racist discontent. Not to say that they don't have racism, but that number is surprising. With regard to Alberta and Saskatchewan, those two provinces generally have a very right-wing bent, politically speaking, and it seems that a lot of the discontent, the racist discontent, seems to come from communities that have a very right-leaning political view. I think if you just look at the fact that just last month we had an occupation in Ottawa, and the vast majority of people tended to have more right-wing political leanings. And that plays into it, and that in itself is something to worry about. And of course, now we've got the situation of not just the aftermath of the pandemic, but now we're in a situation where people feel like they're being destabilized by rising inflation costs, economic uncertainty, and so forth, and that in itself ends up giving some impetus to these types of elements and voices to not only express themselves verbally, but also play out things in a very physical, violent way.
When you look at the situation in Ottawa, Fareed, and some people will say, well, you can't paint all of the protesters with one brush. You can't say they were all racist and that. But then you look at some of the hate symbols that were there and some of the other things that we saw that clearly ventured into hate territory. What's your take? How do you view, because you brought up this protest, and I find that so interesting, those 3 weeks. What did that say to you?
Well, I think your listeners need to understand that if they don't already, that this protest was organized by people with a known history of promoting hate and racial violence. These were people, the key organizers and the people who helped this protest go ahead, were known promoters of racism, of anti-Muslim hate, of anti-Jewish hate, and the fact that you had all these people come together, who were the vast majority being white, who allowed racist symbols and messaging, anti-black messaging, anti-Jewish messaging, Islamophobia, anti-trans messaging, and they were okay with these, hateful symbols and this hateful messaging being part of their protests. I mean, they thought it was just one big party and everybody's welcome. Well, you know what? If you allow those sorts of elements into your tent, then you are complicit by your silence, and that's what we saw. We saw these people saying, hey, bring your Nazi flags, bring your Confederate flags, bring your anti-trans hateful messaging. We're okay with it. We're just one big happy family. And what that says is that this movement, this protest movement, and the protesters who are on Parliament Hill have no problem with having people who promote hate being side by side with them.
Fareed Khan is founder of Canadians United Against Hate. Fareed, we're out of time here, but I want to thank you for coming on the show.
No, thank you for having me.